I want to check in on Karoline Leavitt and a new major story about her being exposed, maybe for being a liar. That's not new, but about even her family. What? And I don't mean her husband, who's 32 years older than her. I don't mean that. I don't mean her baby, who is closer in age to her than her husband. I don't mean that. And I don't mean this either.
If I had one message tonight, this is being covered like all over the world. This is crazy because I haven't made a speech in a little while. Isn't she great? Is Karoline great? When she goes on television, Fox, they dominate. They dominate when she gets up there with that beautiful face and those lips that don't stop, up like a little machine gun. She's got no...
I don't mean that. That's not the story that we're talking about. It's something different. I don't mean this. This is not the story.
We even brought our superstar today, Karoline.
Where's Karoline? Where's my superstar?
She's become a star. She's a star. When she gets up there with that beautiful face and those lips that don't stop, up like a little machine gun. That face and those lips, they move like a machine gun, right? It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun. Karoline, the Prime Minister would like you to work for him in Hungary.
I don't mean any of that. Okay. What I do mean is this. Mom of Karoline Leavitt's nephew speaks out after ICE release. So I already filled you in on the fact that Karoline Leavitt's nephew, her brother's son, has a mother. And that mother is someone who just got detained by ICE. And Leavitt did something so gross, which was to get the White House's official response to be like, we don't really know anything. We barely know this person, even though it's her nephew's mom. And I'll show you the lawyer even alluding to the fact that maybe nephew's mom was targeted. This is someone who's been here since she was a kid. But first, you have her saying, I asked Karoline to be godmother over my only sister. I made a mistake there in trusting. Ferreira rounded on the White House's response to her connection to the press secretary. Why they're creating this narrative is beyond my wildest imagination. Characterized it as insulting and disgusting. So you had, and we showed you the body cam footage, Ferreira being arrested again by all these ICE agents. And then upon the slightest bit of turmoil, or really serious turmoil, I should say, just shows the character of someone in Karoline Leavitt, that she would allow the White House to pretend like she barely even knows this person. When according to Ferreira, she wanted Karoline over her own sister to be her godmother, meaning I guess they had a relationship. And she has so many reasons to stay in the United States, given that she's been here since she was a kid. On the list of people who there would be good cause for deporting, people who have been in the United States since they were a kid is not on that list. And even then, Leavitt wouldn't stand up for her. Bruna Ferreira. And so that's her calling out Leavitt. Then you have her attorney saying something even more chilling. Let me refresh this real quick. Click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show while this is loading, and then we'll watch.
Do you believe her arrest was entirely random?
No.
Tell me why.
Because she was surrounded by 4 unmarked vehicles, clearly from ICE. She watches the news. She sees people with masks over their faces, and that's how Immigration and Customs Enforcement rolls these days. But what was strange about it is when they approached her, they asked her for her driver's license. So at first it was kind of like, why are you asking me for my driver's license? Doesn't appear to be a traffic stop. Then they asked her if she had her license. She said it was in her purse. Then they asked her if she was Bruna, and she said, why are you asking me that? And then they immediately arrested her. They took her to a police station in the Boston suburbs, then they took her to New Hampshire, then they took her to Vermont, and now she's sitting in Louisiana.
So you're raising questions about why she in particular, beyond her immigration status, was targeted for arrest.
Yeah, the arrest violates the Constitution. We see this daily with this administration. As people are approached, they're be asking, show me your papers. I'll show you the Fifth Amendment. We have a right to remain silent on U.S. soil regardless of our status. Yet she appears to have been targeted. She was surrounded. This is a person who owns 2 businesses. She has an 11-year-old son. Yes, she had a relationship with Karoline Leavitt's brother, and it didn't work out. They were engaged for a while. They had a child together. They thought they were going to get married. She has no problems with the Leavitt family. She literally picked Karoline to be the godmother of Michael Jr. Over her own sister.
Tell me about her immigration status. She entered the country in 1999.
Correct.
Under what circumstances and what followed?
So she came here at 6 years old on a tourist visa, which is a lawful entry into the country. And under the immigration laws, you can't violate that. Yes, the government is claiming she violated the visa, but a 6-year-old isn't responsible for breaking the law. A 6-year-old such as her would only be responsible for being in a visa violation status 6 months after her 18th birthday. By then, she already had DACA, which is a lawful process, but DACA doesn't lead to a green card. And now she's in the middle of applying for her green card, which she's been waiting for 27 years, and then she gets sandbagged by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's taken from her child right before Thanksgiving. And just be thankful that Immigration and Customs Enforcement doesn't ruin your family's holidays, because that's what does happen to her.
Just terrible. And I saw this story too of another example of someone who was a dreamer and had been here since they were a kid, and she was like maybe 19 or in her early 20s, was going back home for the holidays from college. She's in college, and on the way she gets pulled over and deported. Not just not a threat to communities, but a value to communities. Isn't in the United States unlawfully because of any fault of their own. It's not at all their choice. And their entire life is built here. Wherever you would deport them to, they have very limited or no roots at all. This is just like all of us. This is where their entire life was built when they've been here since 6 years old. And then we're going to be the type of country that deports them? For what? And we're reallocating resources away from actual drug enforcement, as an example. Drug trafficking prosecutions are dropping because we're reallocating so many resources to grabbing up innocent women like this. That's what we need our extra resources to go to instead of actually taking down drug trafficking. We'll bomb boats and deport college students instead of actually systemically preventing drug trafficking. While we're pardoning notorious drug traffickers. Interesting choices. And the reason I'm connecting those two subjects is because that's the data that we got about the amount of resources that are being pushed into this immigration enforcement. That is all about the numbers and not the actual type of person, whether or not they should or shouldn't be in the country, is taking away from much more important operations. So that's really tragic. And then I do want to show you have a U.S. citizen testifying about his experience.
My name is George Redes. I'm here today not to reopen old wounds, but as a veteran, a father, and an ordinary person who still believes in the promise of this country and the values represented by our flag. I respect law enforcement. I respect the men and women who serve, but I also believe that accountability is not the enemy of respect. It is its foundation. On July 10th, 2025, I was confronted by ICE agents on my way to work. I want you to understand exactly what that looked like, not because I want sympathy, but because it exposes a crack in the law that must be fixed. I was driving to my job as a security guard at a licensed farm in Camarillo, California. Federal immigration agents were lined across the road leading to the farm. I identified myself as a U.S. citizen and a veteran, but that didn't matter. Agents smashed my window, sprayed tear gas and pepper spray into my car, dragged me out. I was choking on gas, unable to breathe, while officers shouted conflicting commands even after I complied. They pinned me down, one kneeling on my back and another kneeling on my neck, while my hands were already behind me. I was first taken to a Navy base where agents collected my DNA, and after that, I was taken to a detention center and held for 3 days without charges. No phone call, no lawyer, no medical care, even though my skin burned from the chemicals. I wasn't allowed to shower. Even
U.S. citizens, veteran, are being treated like this. There's nothing partisan about this, being outraged about this. Nothing at all. There is no world in which you have to support this to support strong and secure borders and a rational immigration policy and immigration reforms and wanting only lawful immigration. You can want humane policies. This is just needless. If you want to give credit, as I think it's perfectly fine to how locked down the border has gotten under Trump, that's actually a pretty important takeaway that, it actually kind of was that simple. You could lock it down. You could minimize illegal entries a lot. But that actually is a completely isolated policy choice from, and also we're going to go around within the country and just harass and abuse people regardless of their immigration status. If you want this, you don't have to support this. That's kind of my point.